Hey buddy, Crow back again, and in this video I'm going to be building my own custom Game Boy Advance, and as you can see it's already built, and that's because I'm filming this portion of the video about a week after I originally worked on it. And right from the beginning I'm going to say that this is not really an instructional video. I'm not going to go into details as to every little thing I did to build this. I basically did film everything as I was working on it. However, I did make plenty of mistakes. I did have to go back and redo a lot of stuff. And the video is just going to be me kind of talking, explaining what I'm doing. And then I'm going to fast forward through the parts where I'm just working on it. And every time I had something to say, we're going to just hear it out and then fast forward again. And that's how this video is going to go. It's going to be more of the story of what went wrong and what I had to do to get to this point. So this video is going to be pretty long. So go ahead and look at the chapters, jump around if you want to see specific things. Now to start with, I'm just going to talk about why I decided to go ahead and build this. I'll try to be as quick as possible, but basically I was online talking with some people. I don't remember exactly who it was or what the topic was, but I pulled out the Game Boy Advanced Micro, which I never really used, but as I was talking about it, I was looking at it, it's like, man, this thing is smaller than I remember, and it's more impressive than I remember for the time that this was built. So I started playing some games on it, and then I was thinking to myself, man, wouldn't it be cool if I had one of those flash carts and had every single Game Boy Advance game on this thing? So I went ahead and did that. I bought this Easy Flash Definitive Edition. This is it right here. And then I had it in here and I was going through and I was playing games. And then I was thinking, man, this screen is really a little bit too small, especially for certain games. And the device itself is pretty small. So, you know, for some games it's fine, but other games where you have to use the shoulder buttons, it's kind of difficult to hold. So I was thinking, well, what if I just used one of my other Game Boy Advances? I was thinking the Game Boy Advance SP. This is the AGS 101 model, because it has a very good screen, but then you've got kind of the same problem where, you know, it's okay to use, but like it's not the greatest in comfort. And then I was thinking, well, then the original Game Boy is probably the most comfortable one to hold, but the screen is pretty bad on it. So I was thinking, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go looking for one of those IPS LCD screens, and I'll just, you know, upgrade it with that, and then I'll use that. And then I wound up in a website, handheldlegend.com, that sold that type of thing, but then they also sold so much more, especially for handhelds like the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear. There's some console stuff on there as well, but it's mainly just controllers. But it's primarily focused on handheld stuff. And I was going through everything they had, and I was like, man, I could practically build my own Game Boy Advance with all this stuff. All I need is pretty much the main board from an existing Game Boy Advance. I was thinking, man, maybe I want to do that. And I basically was adding all this stuff to the cart. The total wound up being around $150. So I thought about it for a while, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a fun project. So I went ahead and I bought it all. I'm not going to put a link to everything that I bought specifically in the description below, but I will put a link to handheldlegend.com in the description. And if you go to any of their products, anything that requires installation instructions, there's links to that, and even links to videos on how to do it. So let's transition to the last week. So let's go through what we got here. Now, this wasn't something that I ordered. This was just something that they threw in there. It's a Handheld Legends keychain. This is, I believe, the Game Boy Advance wire-free Dehum Dehiss kit. We have a whole bag of stuff here, so I guess we'll open this bag up. This is the Game Boy Advance IPS V2 LCD bracket. This is obviously something that's 3D printed, and if you have your own 3D printer, I think you can just get the specs to download and print this out yourself. This just looks like a card. This was not purchased. That's something they threw in there. Again, here's a sticker. Again, another Handheld Legend sticker. This is the Game Boy Advance UV Shell Sticker Vaporwave Tape. So yeah, I got these stickers to put on the back of the case when we're all done. Okay, here I've got two sets of screws. These are Game Boy replacement screws. One is a 10-pack of 8mm, and one is a 10-pack of 6mm. And it turns out that I probably won't even need these. Now, I got these so I could replace the screws on the Game Boy Advance, but it appears that the kit that I got comes with screws, so I might not even need those. And here we have a 1-watt Game Boy speaker. This is a 23 millimeters. I think that this is the power LED for the Game Boy Advance. This is a yellow LED. And this is the Game Boy Clean Amp version 1.2 audio amplifier. That's it right there. That's all it is. So I bought some extra wire here just because I didn't think I had any that was disengaged, and I think this is what was recommended. This here is the IPS screen lens. This is tempered glass. This is black with clear text. This is the Clean Juice Game Boy Advance 1.3 volt lithium ion rechargeable battery module. This is a back plate with a little hole already cut into it. This whole package here, this is the Game Boy Advance IPS LCD V2 kit, touch censored version. This is the one thing that I wanted for sure. Now this back here is the Game Boy Advance Prestige buttons from Retro 6. These are clear, so you can see through them, and this is the reason why I got the clear buttons. These are Prestige silicone buttons. These are yellow, so I'm kind of hoping that you can see through the buttons and see the yellow underneath. The Game Boy Advance LED trigger kit. So since I have clear shoulder buttons, I ended up getting this kit. So you can have it set up so when you push the buttons, it'll light up. You can also set it up to where you're just always on, but I don't want to do that. Obviously, there's one thing that's missing. And that is the replacement shell. This is a Pearl Black. Now specifically, this is the Game Boy Advance Prestige shell, IPS modified by Retro 6 Pearl Black. And what they mean by IPS modified is that if I wanted to install an IPS screen in a standard shell, I would need to do a little bit of cutting in order for the screen to fit around here, this area. This is already pre-cut, so I don't need to worry about that. Anyway, I didn't want a translucent case, but I thought it'd be pretty cool if the case is solid, but the buttons were translucent. So, before we can actually get started with any of this, I've got to disassemble this thing here. All right, I've taken apart everything I really need to take apart. I don't really need to take out the screen here because I'm not using this screen. All these pieces I'm gonna put in this bag here. Some of these pieces were filthy. Look at all that gunk that was on that button. I am gonna take a cotton swab with some alcohol and just kind of rub down the circuit board. The speaker will need to come out too, but I'm not gonna take this out until I'm ready to put in the new one. I just want to see if I can actually get some power on this thing. Now, if I turn the power on here, I should get light at the very least. Yep, there it is. I'm getting sound too, so that's good. Okay, so that's the LED light that I need to replace. And that's the first thing I'm going to do, because it may be one of the more difficult just because of how small it is. I'll probably need to watch the video on how to replace that. All right, I'll be honest, I could not get that thing installed properly. I've been trying for like an hour. I got the old one out. I could not get the new one in. It's just so tiny. I lost it several times, and I think I've lost it for good. So there's just going to be no LED light, I think, for this thing. I mean, I could just use one of the other boards and just leave it as a green light, but you know what? I think I'm fine with just no light at all. The red light for the power drain is still there, so that'll still work. So that'll just be a low battery indicator, I think. Otherwise, I mean, you'll be able to tell if it's on or not because the screen will be on. I think I'm going to take a break for right now. The next thing I think I'm going to put in are the lights for the shoulder buttons. Everything else should be fine. It was the smallest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. So it doesn't surprise me I was not successful with that thing. All right, back from taking my break, had some dinner. The next thing I'm going to put in are the lights for the shoulder buttons. And I already took a look at the instructions for this, and this is going to be far easier. All we've got to do is cut some wire. We've got some LEDs here and resistors, and it's going to be fairly straightforward. So we can actually test this out. This should be complete, aside from the fact that I don't really have the lights in place. Should be able to throw some batteries in and see some lights. I am optimistic that this is correct. All right, turn this on. Can we see that? Now, bingo, look at that. So here, yeah. Wired correctly. So, since this is now correct, I'm just going to get a hot glue gun and kind of put some dabs on here to get the wire to be exactly where I want it to be. And just to make sure I didn't screw anything up royally, I guess we'll do one more test. And I screwed something up royally. Something I disconnected here. Well, I guess we'll just solder the ends we see because I don't want to have to take the heat shrink off. Yeah, man, made things tougher for me, huh? Okay, hopefully I'm lucky enough to where that is the fix. Because if that's not it, then the problem's hidden. Okay, it's on. Nope. I'm gonna check this next. Working? Now it works. That was the problem. There was because I moved it around too much. So let's see if we can put this back. So now let's test this. There we go. Both sides working as they should. All right, took a little bit of time to figure out exactly what I wanted to install next. I think I have pretty much exactly what I'm going to do in what order. I actually did a little preparation. The next thing I'm going to install is this Dehum kit. And this should be pretty easy. Everything should be getting easier from now on. Because all this does is this sits on top of the board and you just have to solder 5 points. You don't even need to put any wires. The only tricky part is some of these are on like tiny capacitors. So we'll see what I could do here. I got held up because I'm trying to look, and the image I was looking at was pointing at 5 points to solder, but the 5th point doesn't exist on my board. The layout is a little bit different. And then I watched an installation video. It turns out I don't even need to solder that 1 point on anything. So I guess I can continue this. I think we got it. So again, we're gonna plug this all in. Let's make sure we have audio. All right, and power on. And I still hear it. Cool. So we're good. All right, next up, the next thing I want to install is the audio amp. I've already cut the wires I needed. I cut 5 wires and I tinned them all. Oh, they're all over here. Here they are. So the 5 wires, just one end's been cut and it's going to be put here. They recommended double-sided tape, but I'm just going to use a dab of the glue gun. Also, I could take out the speaker now because I actually don't need it. Come on, there you go. That's out of there. So the new speaker is going to be plugged directly into this amp here. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to connect the wires I want up to this first. That should be that amp installed. So let's see if it in fact works. All right, let's turn it on. The volume's at max. Oh, that is louder. Nice. One more time. That is much louder. Nice. Okay, so that does work. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have still tested the... Okay, it works. Works. Okay, I just want to make sure that these lights still work because I did have to solder one of the wires where those were soldered in. I think it's time to install the screen. Now, despite the fact that this might be one of the most complicated things, like when I say complicated, it's got the most instructions out of any of this stuff. It might actually also be the easiest. I'm going to cut off some of this excessive glue because there's no soldering involved. And because working on the screen. Let's clear up this space just a little bit. Game Boys either have a 32 or 40 pin ribbon cable to connect the screen with, and they give you both options here. I already looked. Mine is this one. It's the 32 pin. There's also a 40 pin. That's why I was getting confused. This is wrong. Now it wants to do a dry test just to make sure the screen illuminates. So, all right, moment of truth. Let's see if the screen turns on. There it is. We connected it up right. That looks nice. Okay. Okay, the next step it says is to trim on the faceplate. There's this section here, but I don't need to since this case was already pre-made with this screen in mind. So we don't need to do that. That's because the screen is slightly larger than the original screen. Alright, I got it all rewired, so hopefully this will close properly. I already tested it. It works. I got it set up again the right way, so if this all works, we can start screwing this thing back together. There we go. Very nice. That's working pretty damn good. Well, just out of curiosity, let's try it with a game in there. Screen looks straight to me. Konami. Looks like it's working. So let's put this thing together. I don't think I need the soldering iron. I don't think I need the heat gun anymore. Alright, it's getting pretty late. I've been at this for quite a while. Took a break, emptied the memory card off of that camera up there because it was full. Walked the dog, came back, cleaned up a little bit. Got rid of like the soldering iron and the glue gun because I really don't think I'll need any more of that stuff anymore. I cleaned the screen on the other side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in the buttons, put in this thing for the speaker to seal it up, and then I'll screw this part in. Then I can screw in the rest of it, and then we'll install the battery last because I think that we can put that in after the whole thing's been assembled. I'm gonna double check that though. Okay, yeah, it is the case. So I am going to assemble this. All together, and now I'm gonna have to wipe the screen down again because I touched it a few times. But oh wow, yeah, that does look kind of nice. The clear buttons with the yellow underneath. The screen's not in there. Yeah, just as I thought, I'm gonna have to take this back apart because the screen's not pushed up all the way against the frame there. I don't know why. Oh, and these buttons aren't working. Well, maybe it's just because I tightened these too tight. Oh, you know what it is? I put the buttons on the wrong sides. That's why. But let's put the screen on. Let's put the front screen on. Let's wipe this down, and then we'll put that screen on, and then I won't have to worry about touching that screen again. There we go. I knew it wasn't going to go perfect. All right. For whatever reason, I thought this adhesive was on the glass to begin with. And it started falling out. I'm like, what is the problem? Okay. Yeah, it's getting hung up on something. It's not sealing properly. Okay, let's take it apart again. That's the problem with putting all this stuff into a device like this. It's like, you gotta be really careful when you're putting it back together, and this is not working quite right. Well, no, it's fine, I think.
doesn't feel quite right. Well, before I take it apart again, let's put batteries in and see if it works. Okay. On. Yeah, that's not working, but this works. Okay, it's because it's not hitting the trigger, but yeah, there we go. That's pretty cool. So, supposedly touching the screen is supposed to... Oh, it did dim it. I don't know what I did to touch it. Where did I touch it? Oh, right here in the bottom. Okay, cool. And I may take this apart again. It doesn't feel quite right here, but for all intents and purposes, it's kind of working right now. So, let me finish this up the way it is, and I'll take it apart another day again. Oh, actually, that's the next step here, is to put in this thing. I don't think... No. It's got to be like... Okay. It's got to be like this. I mean, that's in there pretty damn good and tight. There we go. All right, it's actually in there. Does it power on? Yeah, it does. Wow, okay. That is loud. Button's working. I just lowered the brightness on accident. Okay, so, and let's see here. If I'm just going to take the power from here and plug it in here, well, I'm assuming it's charging. Well, let me put the stickers on. I'm going to pop in Castlevania really quick. But then tomorrow I'll finish up this video because I'm getting pretty damn tired right now. It's 1:30 in the morning. It's taking me way longer than I expected it to. But I think these stickers are the last thing. This one came with the case. These ones I'm going to put on there. So let's put these stickers on there. And it's literally the last thing I think I need to do. But I'm just glad it lights up because that means I don't have to take the whole thing apart again. All right, there we go. And there we go. I just thought it was, I mean, I almost went with the Donkey Kong one because it was kind of yellow and I went with everything else, but I like the cassette tape. Alright, not in there perfectly, but okay. And now I just really got to see putting in a game like Castlevania. Oh, now my lights went out because they go off on a timer. There we go. Look at how bright that is. And loud. And I like, I keep forgetting that by hitting the triggers, they light up. Alright, it's actually the next day. I don't know exactly where I left off with the recording last night. Because after I stopped, I continued to work on this thing, taking it apart, trying to fix things, putting it back together only to find something that wasn't working quite right, and putting it back together. Last night, when I left it, I thought it was pretty much done, and then I noticed some really loud hissing, like the audio obviously wasn't working quite right. So this morning, I actually took it apart again, and I redid the Dehum, the Dehiss kit, and I redid the audio amp, and it's sounding much better now. In fact, this is pretty much done, but I'm still going to have to take this apart, and I'll explain why in a minute. But the reason I'm kind of showing this is because I'm actually going to disable something that is active right now. But let's, the first thing I want to show is like, I have the plugged in USB-C. What I didn't really realize, because there's a battery back on here, if we take this battery back off, you can see there is oh, you know what? It's not going to come out very easy because I have it plugged in, but you can kind of see that there is a light in there. However, because, you know, there's a cover on here, you can't see the light at all. Since this cover is like specifically made for this back, I wonder why they didn't put like some sort of viewing window back here or hole, but I guess you could tell like through that part that it's lit green, like through that little hole there. So if we can plug it, there you go. See, it's gone. But this should be pretty charged right now. I've got the Castlevania game in here. Let's turn this on. I had a big problem with these shoulder buttons In fact, that was like the big reason I kept having to take it apart and put it together, because I had everything working, and then all of a sudden one of the shoulder buttons stopped working. And it turned out that as I was hitting the button, I was actually pinching the wires close together, and then I had to take it apart and fix it, and take it apart and fix it. Ultimately, for these shoulder buttons, all the wiring that I did, I had the heat shrink on there. I took the heat shrink off, but since I left the bare wires, I didn't want to really leave like to that much exposed wire in here. So I just kind of padded it with some electrical tape just to make sure it wouldn't touch anything. And I did a little tweaking here and there. When I open it back up, I'll kind of show it off again. But the reason I'm kind of doing this right now is because this is a touch screen. Now, for whatever reason, when I don't get this, and this is what I'm going to change. If you touch the top of the screen, it cycles through the colors. Okay, there's different color cycles. I don't know why I would want this. I don't know why I would want anything. I mean, that's pretty cool that it's black and white and stuff. But it's interesting that I could do this, but why would I want to do this? Why wouldn't I just always want the right colors like this? This is the right colors. The interesting thing is where the sensor is too. It also works if you just touch the metal on this extension port here. So if I just touch the metal, it cycles through it too. So that was why I'm recording this now, is because I'm going to disable that. Now, the other thing that is supposed to do, that it stopped doing for whatever reason, is that when I touch the bottom of the screen, it's supposed to cycle brightness and dimness. Well, for whatever reason, it's not working. I got the whole thing together, and that's something that stopped working. So I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that sensor, and that's why I'm going to take it apart again. But I'm also going to disable the one that changes the colors, because I don't want to accidentally be changing the colors and have to cycle through it. The other thing I was asking was, why did the kit for the monitor, the screen, come with wires if there was no soldering involved? And what I didn't really realize is that there were two different sets of instructions for this screen. And the second set of instructions was kind of an optional thing where you could wire in the screen to specific buttons. So you could actually control the brightness by holding, like, select and pressing the left shoulder button or the right shoulder button, and that'll that could brighten and dim the screen. But I figure, it's not really necessary, and the reason it was optional is because you could still touch the bottom of the screen and control it. So let me get this apart. Maybe I'll just start filming this again when I get this opened up, and so you can see inside. Here is the device. I just got it apart. As you see, I did put some electrical tape here, basically where the resistors were, and basically in between the posts on the LEDs, because that's what was pinching together. Sometimes when I would close it, and then I'd have to take it apart again to separate them. So even if they do get pinched together, at least the wires won't touch. What? You want pet? You're just mad because I'm not paying attention to you? Okay, interrupted again. I don't remember where I was. So yeah, the tape, this worked out pretty nice. It also helps keep it in place in spots, so when I close it up, it's not going to pinch. But speaking of pinching, that's why I believe this isn't working, is because I see how close I can get to this and stay in focus. Something got here and was and pinched a corner, which is why I think this is broken. This connection is broken. I might have to replace this wire. I'm just going to disconnect this pad. I'll kind of tape it off on the end, and then I will fix this cable somehow. And the dog is crying because she wants my attention. All right, I've replaced the wire completely, and I kind of just covered everything up with electrical tape just to make sure nothing gets moved, or if it gets pinched, there's a little bit extra there. Wrapped the wire way over to the side, and this wire, I've disconnected it. I just kind of folded some electrical tape over the bare end, and I tucked it under this board. So I'm going to get this back together and see if I've fixed this. All right, finally got this thing put together, and believe it or not, I had to take it apart about 3 times, because when I originally fixed the problem and I put it together, no audio. So I had to take it apart and found that one of the speaker wires was loose. So I reattached it, put it back together, turned it on, and I got sound for about half a second, and then no sound. So I took it apart, tried to figure out what the problem was, and the other side of the speaker wire got disconnected. So I had reattached that, and I kind of put down electrical tape everywhere, so around where that clean amp audio board was, just to make sure there was no contact that shouldn't be there. Put it back together, and lo and behold, it works. I have sound. I just turned it down so you could hear me. So if I touch the bottom of the screen here, it's at full brightness now. If I touch the bottom of the screen, that's lowest brightness. It's a lot brighter in the image than it actually is in real life. But if I tap, it's got like 9 levels. So this is level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if I hit one more time, oh wait, I must have miscounted or it didn't register. So one more time. So again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, reset. Yep. Well, that actually looks really good on the camera at the lowest brightness.
And that's going to about wrap it up for this video. But before the video ends, I kind of wanted to do a side-by-side comparison of all the different versions of the Game Boy Advance running Castlevania Circle of the Moon for comparison. So I did film each one of these. We've got the original Game Boy Advance with the original screen. We've got the Game Boy Advance SP, the original one, the AGS 001 model. Then we've got the second version of the Game Boy Advance SP. This is the one with the newer screen. It's the AGS 101. Then we've got the Game Boy Advance Micro. I don't know if it's Game Boy Micro or Game Boy Advance Micro. It just says Game Boy Micro in the back. And then also I'll put in there the new IPS LCD Screen modded Game Boy Advance. So we'll end with that. Thanks all for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye.